Oscar,
How you doing?
good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. It's a nice relaxing moment in time for me on a lovely Thursday afternoon here down in Melbourne. So I'm pretty chilled, which is pretty rare.
Fantastic. It was a pleasure to have you on our podcast. We're having a lovely, I guess, casual conversation today about you, your story. Quite the story it is, I imagine. I'm yet to hear a lot of it. But funny story how I met Oscar. He was just telling us at the airport when he thought my girlfriend only had one hand. I just learned this story as well. Like I didn't know it. So
Well, yeah, it was
brilliant.
Yeah, it was
Brilliant.
winter, and her jacket was really long, and her arm looked. I don't know, but anyway, let's move on from that. I'm still embarrassed over that.
Brilliant. I was like, did I call you Oscar or did I call you Oscar twice? You know, I was like, Oscar or Oscar?
Yeah. Well, I've got my own special ways, you know. I had a stutter, somebody taught, so and that's how I call it Oscar. But that's another story again. Yeah.
Is that how it was called? That?
No, some idiot accountant thought he was being funny when he had too many drinks in him, and asked me. Thought that was quite funny to say. Did I have a stutter? Is that why I called it twice?
Oh wow! Wow!
You know what accountants are like.
That's some Aussie humour there, is it?
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that was a real good one. That one.
Yeah. It wouldn't fly back at home.
Yeah,
it wouldn't fly back at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're Irish,
yeah,
obviously with the accent.
yeah. County Clare. I was born in the son of an Irish, basically a chimney sweep. Believe it or not, my old man was a chimney sweep. He was the youngest of five, and I'm the middle of five. And my mum was just a worker. She worked. There was five kids. He was an alcoholic more so than a chimney sweep. He also worked for Aer Lingus. I don't think Aer Lingus did too well while he worked there, because I think there was a lot of tarmac that wasn't spread so well on the surfaces of Shannon Airport at the time, because he worked at Shannon. But yeah, so we were brought up very very in a just outside a little village called Tulla in County Clare in Ireland, a very remote, beautiful part where everybody fishes and you can hunt up from the bedroom window, and there's rabbits out there and they're growing, and yeah, we had I had a very countrified, beautiful existence that was very rural and worked on farms, and brought home the bacon, literally. So yeah, that was the first 10-15 years of my life, you know, working on farms and hanging out in the countryside.
It's a lot different now, isn't it?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
It's it. I reflect on this sometimes as well, because like my mother's side of the family are dairy farmers.
Yeah.
So I even remember as a kid going from living in the town of Fermoy in Cork to their house on the weekends or whatever, or when I was visiting, and I was like, fucking hell, this is rural. Like, this is proper like country, like Ireland, you know?
Yeah.
And it's different. It's a different, there's a silence and a stillness there, isn't there?
There is, and there's a wildness to it, and there was a beauty to it as well, but of course Ireland and its weather is you know, they say when the sun shines in Ireland there is no other place, but it only shines about 6 days in a year. You know, but I've just bought a castle in Ireland with my brother, actually.
Awesome.
So I am very drawn to the homeland, and as I get older, probably drawn a bit more. But Australia's home. Australia is home, and it's been very good to me. It's been it's been an interesting journey. I can't remember all of it, but I think I can remember most of it.
Some patchy stuff in there, but yeah.
So did you
There's probably some parts I don't want to remember.
Did you do hair before you came to Australia, or?
Yeah. I my eldest brother, God rest his soul, he he was dating a hairdresser when he was very young. He was sort of the entrepreneur because while men sort of, you know, ran away or whatever, as alcohols do, or my mum kicked him out, I think was more likely what happened. But my eldest brother was sort of the paternal sort of dad, as it were, and he was very entrepreneurial. He started dating this hairdresser. I believe he was dating. He never quite told me, but anyway, she ends up at a hairdressing salon, or running a hairdressing salon that he financed. He was only 21 at the time. This is at Ennis, County Clare. Hello to Ennis people. I was sort of told that maybe school wasn't working for me at 16 or so. It wasn't really working. I could come back. I had an option of going back, but I wasn't really welcome back to school, because I wasn't really doing anything at school. I wasn't very academic. I wouldn't say I was a troublemaker. I wasn't, but I wasn't probably. I wasn't certainly very academic. I used to get bored in class. And used to spend a lot more time in the hallways than the classroom. So, it was, or down the pool hall or whatever. So he said, "Do you want to go and work in this salon?" And I thought, work in a hairdressing salon? And I thought, okay. And then, of course, I remember vividly my first day working in this hairdressing salon, and I was like, 16 and a half, 17, and I think one of the first clients was this hot 35-year-old woman with just the most amazing body, and I was shampooing her hair, and I was going, okay, I know what's going on here, and I sort of taught, you know, hairdressing, music, women, and you don't get wet working on farms, you know. So you know, pissing down rain in Ireland. So, and you could wear great clothes. Yeah. So I was lured to hairdressing not because I wanted to do hair. I was lured there purely because of the idea of sexy hot women, music, and wearing good clothes. No fucking interest whatsoever in hair.
Brilliant. So that's how my dad sold it to me. So we were talking about what I was going to do growing up, and I was like 15, couldn't decide. It was either work at a supermarket, work as a builder, or do something you're interested in. And we were sitting around dinner table one night, and he goes, you care about your hair so much, why don't you be a hairdresser? And it just all went silent, and it's kind of like, all right, that hit somewhere. Yeah. And then as the days went on, he'd say, you know, look at me, I'll come home covered in shit. Yeah. Hanging around with stinking blokes all day. He said, you'll be in a salon smelling nice, hot women everywhere. And I was like, fucking hell, that sounds great, you know, as a 15-year-old. Yeah. And then I remember similar story, like shampooing at the basin, and there was this woman there, and she'd always wear a skirt. And the woman that was cutting her hair, she said, she loves you washing her hair, you know. And I was like, oh, fuck, you know, you get all nervous at 15. Next time she comes in, she must have said something to her, and she goes, oh, I'm stuck to the chair. I'm 16, and I was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. It's kind of like, this is actually quite fun.
It's a you know, when we forget, even as when we travel this great journey of life, and you guys are quite a bit younger than me, but as we frantically move through life and get on this rabbit wheel, or sorry, should I say this mouse wheel that spins around, blah blah blah, we forget about the experiences that keep moving us on. But there are these times that are crucial times, or trigger times, that define where our journey goes. And that was a journey that happened by chance for me, and in the majority of cases, be it whoever people are, be it singers, rock stars, athletes, there's a defining changing time that they choose that path that takes them on this journey. And some of us are very fortunate. Some of us are not as, we are in many ways the chosen ones that have been sort of, you know, given glimpses of this is what your journey could be like, and we run off with it and do it. There's so many incredible people out there that have not been gifted the same thing, you know, and go through life in a very monotonous way, doing stuff that they don't really enjoy doing, or not knowing what it is that they want to do. My heart bleeds for those type of people, because life is hard enough when you know what you're doing, or when you've got a purpose, and when you've got a path that's sort of, in your vision, but if you don't have that, it must be hard.
It's so powerful. We talk about that all the time. Like, that's half the reason, or most of the reason why we do, and most of what we do is if we don't show people what can happen. Yeah. Like, people look at us and we're just barbers, right? But look at all the things that we're doing. You got Dyson Ambassador. Yeah. I'm in the Fame team. Doing all this kind of stuff. It's like barbers don't. They're like, whoa! If we don't show people that and share that, well, what do they do? Yeah, it's like, I'm just stuck here doing this. Like,
and let me just assert, let's do the maths on that. 49% of the global population, I believe it's 49%, is male. I think women hold the edge on 2%. I believe.
Wow.
I haven't done the maths on that, but I believe it's 49% of the population. It's probably would have been better if it was probably only 40% of us. There was only 40% and 60%.
I'd take even less.
Yeah, I'd take that. I'd be happy with 5.
That's where we went wrong. That's where we went wrong.
Yeah, that's it.
But isn't it interesting, like what Leigh was saying there? Like, if we're not the ones showing people that route, like, how the fuck are we sitting here on a Thursday afternoon? Yeah. The typical mainstream kind of route is we should be working in the salon right now, cutting people's hair, because that's just what you do, But it's incredible, all the opportunities, I guess, that it's presented to you over the years too, especially for someone who couldn't give a single fuck about hair.
And then I became obsessed with it. Yeah. Because that's the crucial thing, was I've always been into images, and I've always been into form, and I've always been into, like, even when I was a kid, if I was opening a farm gate, and if the farm gate was crooked, or the farm gate was not hanging properly, I'd be like, we need to fix that fucking farm gate, okay? Or if a wall was broken down, I wanted to rebuild that wall. Everything always had to be about symmetry to me, and I'm completely, and that was some way. I see it now, even my daughter, I think, this is stuff that we don't really control. This is stuff that once we come out of the great womb, that we come out with this in our DNA, whatever that is, to a great point. And they say it happens in the first 3 years, and I believe that too. Monkey see, monkey do, and so forth. But I was always obsessive about design, I guess. I just wasn't obsessed with the idea of doing women's hair on it just to look at them, I guess.
That was the context. That was the context of the expression of.
It may sound a bit brash and rude, but that's the honest truth of it,
I totally agree with what you say there. So, in our academy, and even in my life this year, I've been doing a lot more photography. I want to get into shooting collections and stuff like that, and I'm kind of paving that way for myself now. And something that I've been studying a lot lately is what they call human visual perception, and it's the DNA and the biology of how your eye and your brain sees things. And I agree 100% with what you say. I reckon it even starts before those 3 years. There's things that the biology of our eyes and mind just like to see. Like, we like to see balance. And I try to dig into that. It's like, why do we like balance? Because it's just safe. It's safer. The body, one of our needs is to feel safe, and we want to see balance. If that's crooked, it's not working, it's going to be unsafe. Same with geometry, same with structure, same with form. And it's amazing where it expresses itself in life.
And that's why we end up in this industry. And, none of my family. I've got a sister who's a hairdresser as well, by the way, and a younger sister. She's 3 or 4 years younger than me, and but we all sort of grew up in the same environment. We all grew up but I sort of was always that person that just had to be this way. A pain in the ass for the family, completely. The troublesome middle child.
I guess, like, that's what kind of defines the difference between somebody who's good at hair and somebody who's not so good at hair. And Leigh and I kind of discussed this on the way here, right? Like, it's not like we're jumping through hula hoops to cut people's hair either.
Yeah.
We were like, we get this question a lot in the academy. It's like, oh, but don't you love it? Don't you just love it? And it's like, not really, but we're still really good at it. Yeah. And why is that? It's because of maybe the balance thing. We like the craftsmanship of it, the design, the fact that we can do this with our hands, and like,
it's
express
such a visual,
that.
and it's the ability. What I think we as we sort of we take for granted, really, after a periods of time, or after a period of time within this great art of hairdressing and the great business of hairdressing, and particularly when we get into the business side, we take for granted how we can make people, how we can change people, and how we can make people feel, and the world of Instagram, the world of social media, and the way the world has changed with businesses being launched and become mega brands out of just social media. We must understand and respect and appreciate that there's certain things that haven't changed, and the emotion of how a guest feels, or how a client lady feels, or a man feels, and nothing, no jacket they wear, no dress they put on, no makeup they apply, or no lipstick they smear on their faces is gonna make them feel as good as when their hair's right, and when their hair is on point for them at that point, and that is the true one transformational tool that transcends everything that a person will wear.
Well, it's true, because if you take somebody's hair and if you take, for example, my girlfriend Hannah, for example, and just shave her head, looks like a different human.
Yeah,
completely different looking human.
Oh, absolutely.
And that probably transcends into her feeling then, and how she brings herself about the world.
Of course.
I feel there's another level to hair as well, isn't it? It's a very tactile experience.
Yeah.
Like you say with fashion, people buy their new shoes, they have new clothes, and like you said, there's no bag, jacket, or shoes that are going to do the same thing. I think because it's such a tactile, energetic experience.
Yeah.
You have created something for them in the last couple of hours.
Yeah.
For them, they don't know the person that created that. It's just another thing that they bought.
Yeah.
It's
and it can change. You can't really. Well, you can obviously. We've got all sorts of stuff, fillers and Botox and all that. You can change people's face, and you can change people, but there's no quick fix quicker than a restyle or a makeover on hair. That actually changes if you peel back all the clothes and all the trimmings and all the stuff that's meant to dress out the human body, there's nothing that does it better.
I loved something that you I picked out there. What you were saying is about how they feel in that moment at that time, and that's something that I bring into my consultation. I just take all the assumption out of it, and I come into the consultation with, how do you feel in this moment right now, and how do we create that to help you express that and feel that, and it gets really beautiful and enjoyable that way. It's
and I
powerful.
think it's less prescriptive. It's
very prescriptive.
I think that is the magic of the makeover, and it's the magic of that transformation. I guess where I used to get frustrated, and I don't know, doing ladies' hair was just to repeat, every 6 weeks, whereas when I do transformation, it's like a one night stand every night. It's a complete change. Always. That sounds rude, but it's true.
It's true.
It's we can't put this in, can we?
We're putting it in. I don't cut anything out.
But the ability to make that change, there's so much mystery in it, and there's so much a significant you're bringing to life. We have the ability to release these dopamines in a woman or within a man, and I don't do men's hair much. I'm not very good at men's hair. The person completely changes, and now with the additives of hair extensions and does other support tools that are there to. It's taken even further and further. You know, you can see if you look at celebrity transformations now. You know, you look at, America, has never been known for always really traditionally the best hair in a traditional sense. Yeah. But one thing America does is it knows how to sensationalize transformations, and you can see that with celebrity. And it's probably 20 years ago you would never really have mood boards that were based around purely Californian or US or Hollywood celebrities. Now or whatever, now it was always models and actresses and maybe but mainly models back then, and people, musicians also sort of defined a style guide, Kate Moss and all these other people, but now a lot of it is the sensational. The US has really punched forward with that,
It's interesting in education as well. We went over to LA this year with the FAME team. We stopped off in Long Beach at the Issy Hair Show, and Cole was there. He was ex-Sassoon's educator, Cole Thompson, and really awesome guy, British guy, and he's doing a lot of education for Hanzo now in America. And he said, man, it is so different educating here. He was like, I had to learn to become an educator again. And he was like, not for my skills, it was like for the performance. Yeah. And like you said, to sensationalize. He was like, I had to tell jokes. I had to put on a show, perform. He was like, that was never part of my thing. And he was like, if you can learn to do that, he was like, you're off to the races.
Yeah.
Like, they almost expect it as well.
Yeah. And that's probably things that really the Brits and maybe even the Irish, we don't do so well. Really, we're not really.
We're a bit more reserved, aren't we?
Yeah, we're more sort of
until we get out of Ireland.
Yeah.
Until we get out of England, but it's true, right? Like we come over here and we sensationalize what we learn to do at home, because if I was doing what I was doing at home, it just wouldn't be received the same way.
Yeah,
because people know, they kind of know you, or they know your family, or they know my family.
Whereas here we just sort of run naked on Bondi Beach, and your mum's watching it on Bondi Rescue anyway back home in Ireland.
Exactly. We have the freedom of there's less judgment. Yeah. There's less judgment here.
How many near drownings are there in Bondi Rescue? And it's all Irish
fellas,
and it's always on a Sunday morning.
Yeah. True.
Fucking hell, true.
And that relates directly to product of your environment, doesn't it? And then you cut loose from that environment, and all of a sudden you're free. Yeah. You're free. Yeah. Reinvent yourself.
Yeah, it's insane.
I think we all can share that.
So coming to Australia, did you come? You said you came here at 21. Was that right?
Yeah, I was. I think I was 21. Yeah. Yeah, I came here. I had here about as long as you was, and I actually trained. We ended up in Sassoons. My brother sent me over to Sassoons. We've sort of went off from the storyline of me. I went to Sassoons school. They asked me to become a Varder there at Sassoons. I did that for about 3 months. I was supposed to do 6 months, and then returned to Ireland and worked in Limerick actually for a little while.
Yeah,
and then I got a job. I got a job up in Dublin as well, and didn't really work out, and then I sort of hightailed it over to Australia and worked here in just down the road. We're right now on Chapel Street at the Como Hotel in Melbourne, but I worked on 495 Chapel Street for a guy called Paul Whitehead in Rifmic, and for Biba as well.
Yeah,
and went on a bit of a journey working in salons. I was a bit of a vagabond, a little bit of a sort of, I was typical sort of what every guy like yourself, Leigh, and you, Eoin, was when you come over. You don't really know how long you're going to be here for the first 5 years anyway. Are you going to stay? Are you going to be drawn back home? Are you? Is it all going to work out? And do you really care? Probably not either, because you don't really, it's only when you get loans and mortgages and cars. And I was talking to this about somebody that's on a working visa with me at the moment in the office with my office lady earlier. When you really only understand it when you sort of been down that path yourself. But eventually, I think Australia's such an alluring place that we all get sort of addicted.
Absolutely. I can relate to that very closely.
Yeah.
It's just got very serious all of a sudden in the last year or so since, doing the business and getting the fucking, making the money and having all the repayments and having to do all that side of things. It's like, oh, this is actually real now. Because the first couple of years I was here, I was just working, going out on the piss at the weekends.
Yeah.
Living kind of like a carefree life.
Yeah.
And just going with it and rolling with the punches and taking all the opportunities as they were coming, because there's no sense of like, oh, I'm definitely going to be here.
Yeah.
Like,
you've always got plan B, and plan B is go home, Ireland's not a bad place to be. You just don't really get the weather, but Melbourne weather sometimes a little bit sketchy too.
It is for sure. Reminiscent of home though at times.
I love this city though. I'm not saying it because we're doing this podcast, but this is if I was to be brutally honest, I probably miss this city more so than any other city. I really love Melbourne. It's
different, isn't it?
The weather probably can be a bit frustrating, but
I feel like that too. I think maybe it's because it was the first place I arrived.
Yeah.
Like similar to you, I arrived living on Chapel Street, like my first base. And I'm just drawn to Melbourne. Whenever I go, I'm like, this is still feels like
all the Irish, and lots of the English as well. We all end up in St Kilda, or we end up in St Kilda, so or Paran. If we're really cool, we end up in Paran, or Fitzroy. And then we end up in Fitzroy because there's always a pub on every corner. But
where are you based now?
Me, I live on the Gold Coast now. I live on. I've got to say, life's been kind. I live on a beautiful house on the beach, right on the beach, and on about 5 minutes from the airport. And I know you've been to Cullinan. I get you. One day, you guys come and maybe we'll do the next podcast there.
Yeah.
And I sort of built a house there 10 years ago because I was traveling a lot with salons in Melbourne, salons in Sydney, and I don't want to be commuting an hour to the airport, check in for a half an hour, and then fly for an hour, 2 hours if it was to Melbourne. I want to be so I'm only 5 minutes away from the airport, and half an hour from Byron, half an hour from 10 minutes from Burley, which is where my head office is.
Yeah,
and
incredible.
Yeah,
I was in Burley for a few months this year.
Well, yeah. We should have fucking caught up for a beer.
I walked past the office. I was like, head office, interesting.
Yeah. We've got one upstairs now as well. We got another one upstairs for the Wild brand and the MPT brand. So we're taking over that little corner there. It's a good spot. Well, it's very local there.
It's cool. There's a guy actually up the street that I know who owns the marketing agency up the street, Edge Marketing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I know him. His name's Dan.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a nice spot there, though.
Yeah. West Burley Road.
Yeah. So how did Oscar come about?
Well, how
did you get to the point where you have a head office?
Yeah.
Tell us that path.
A bunch of crazy hairdressers working for some crazy madman called Oscar. Oscar. Listen, I ended up in Queensland when I was early 20s and whatever, 23, 20 something, 20 like that. I'm being a bit smoke and mirrors here with numbers, because I don't want everybody to figure out my age. But and then I was teaching for a big salon group up in Queensland, and then I decided really on a whim one day to open a salon, and I opened a salon in Brisbane City, and then turned the same key every day, basically 6 days a week for 7 years, and then opened the second one. The second one became hugely successful, and then we opened a third one that became even more successful over time. So all of a sudden within 10 years I had the number one salon group in terms of boutique high-end group in the Brisbane area, because everybody had one. Benito Bini had one salon, and everybody else had one, and I had three, and it was growing, Then I opened in the Gold Coast, Pacific Fair, when I won Australian Head of Steer in the early 2000s, 2001. And then it sort of just went a bit crazy from there. I guess there was a change in me where I had, for me, and we spoke about this earlier, Leigh, I know we've sort of all been there, or some of us have been there. I got to a stage where, I want you've got to take a part. It's very hard to wear both hats. It's very hard to be completely to be a hairdresser. Your guest and your client wants an awful lot from you, and we're not talking about what you do with the hair. We're talking about what you give them on an emotional level, the conversations, the chats, the yaks, the yaps, and that connection with them. And the more that I expanded salons, the more I was finding that I was getting, I was in deficit always, to be able to juggle those two very different dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
You're doing guest hair, and you're dealing with other stuff in the background. Like a new lease or a new fit out or a staff member or so forth. So I started to pull back off the salon floor. Maybe started to pull back off the salon floor probably when I opened in Paddington in Sydney about 2004, 2005, I think.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I think, one of my 5th or 6th salon. Then I opened Melbourne. And but I still stayed on the salon floor probably until about maybe 2010, 11 or whatever.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, we can relate to that. Like when there's so much going on in the business aspect of things, running a much smaller operation obviously than what you were running at that time. I just found like presence was the most valuable currency that I had, and I just couldn't be present with my clients. I just couldn't. I was somewhere else. Like I was.
And they know it. They know it, right? They know it.
Yeah. But now, even like when we're having a conversation earlier, we're talking about business. We're talking about, the academy, or we're talking about what we're doing. It's like it's a different cogs are turning.
Yeah.
And I find it hard to go back to that.
Yeah.
It's like fuck, I can't.
And you're sort of shortchanging the client, because you really, even though you might be giving them the best haircut that they've had, and they might be, it becomes a process, and that. People don't really, when people go into salons like us, when you go into a barbershop, like I'm talking a cheap and dirty barbershop, $20 a haircut, get them in, get them out, that's a process. You still will have your favorite person, but when you go into particularly a high-end offering, part of that price point is you, and it's not your skill set. It's very much the persona of you. And if you shortchange there, you get guests will come back, but it's an uncomfortable. It's actually quite uncomfortable after a while, I think, unless you can be present all the time with them.
It's really refreshing to hear that, actually, because we've both experienced that, and I'm down to one day in the shop, and we have our morning meetings. We just do a little 10-minute meeting. I say to Eoin, I'm like, look, my hands are tied today, and the reason being is when I'm in the shop, I want to put my shop head on. I want to put shop head on, because I experience the same thing, and we've had this conversation. To make that $150 worth it, like you say, they need me. They don't just need the haircut; they need me, and I've taken so long to curate that environment for them.
And it's not the visual and physical of what you can produce and what you can do, and even the show and how you present and all that, and your advice and all that. It's actually that you got to be present in conversations,
when you take it to a new level in like business or anything, like for example, we do the academy, right, and we might get paid like 10 times more than what we get for a haircut potentially, or more, and I will either do haircuts now, like I don't work in the shop at all, but I do like a couple of haircuts a week just for cash, and then but I'll either do haircuts for free or they're expensive. Because
well, at some point, right?
And I'll do it for free because but it's not really free, because the cost is my presence in my time. Which isn't free, because I could be spending time booking a workshop that's going to make me more money. And it's like, I actually really explained that to my clients when I was pulling away from the shop floor, and they understood when I put it that way. But I would feel like I was doing them an injustice. Now, when there's guys at the shop that can do it for less money and give them a more valuable experience, because that's where they're at on their journey. And when I say going back, I don't mean as if it's a bad thing to be working in the shop. I'm just saying back in terms of my journey, because like I've moved to another place.
You've moved to a different place, and you know, this is pivotal to this banter here, is that the people that can work on a salon floor, I honor them, and that I can I just say, women beat men every day long and all day long with the ability to multitask and the ability to be able to spin so many different places. Whereas men, if we're doing one thing, we can only do one thing, you know. We're very primal, simple creatures. I mean, there's nobody that's going to deny that.
Oh, hey guys. So if you've been regularly listening to our podcasts, you'll hear us speak into the power of branding and personal brand. Well, we believe it's almost as important as cutting hair in the modern day landscape of our industry and world. Therefore, we have recently engaged a branding expert with over 20 years experience to create a brand accelerator course on our online platform, The Network. To learn more, please visit the description of this podcast. Now back to the podcast.
But business is not for everybody. Business is a fucking headache. You know, going out on your own path is scary. Doing what you're doing is scary, because there's a nakedness about that. There's a non-safety about that. It's unharnessed, you know, and it's sometimes you know, the path is foggy, you know. There's lots of twists and turns, you know. I just said to a partner the other day that, you know, she's got our Camberwell store. We relocated out of Doncaster. I said, we can fucking do anything now. We went through a fucking pandemic for 6 months in Melbourne, you know. How strong has that made so many people in our industry, globally, you know, to any of the listeners on this, globally, this has made people go, fucking hell, you know, I am resilient, you know. What we, I suppose, were subjected to, or what we endured, though it wasn't, you know, humanity's endured some terrible things and atrocities, and obviously we all ate, and we all were fed, and we all had roofs over our house, or most of us anyway, of us, but we it's, you know, it's people. I pay homage and I celebrate people that can do that, can work on a salon floor and enjoy it. And I sit and I look at the people that we produce and the people that we train and the people that grow through our system, and I go, wow, hallelujah. You know, it makes it sort of, it brings me back. It brings memories back of where I was at, you know. And I think that's the magic of our business. You know, there's a magic in our business that there's no other. There's something about our business that's so fucking sexy, you know, that I don't think will ever change. You know, it hasn't changed in my lifetime. Okay, it's been driven by different platforms. It's changed, and its salons are a lot fancier now. They're a lot sexier, and they're a lot, you know, tools are different. You got Dyson is an incredible machine, and I call it a machine because it has revolutionized, you know. But the whole world's revolutionized itself in so many ways. But hairdressing it's such a sexy industry, and it's such an intimate industry still, and it's so touchy feely, and it as I say, it releases all this different stuff in people, and it's magic.
Yeah, when it's done. When it's done with good intent, like, it's magic.
Oh yeah, otherwise it can be a real fucking train wreck, let me tell you.
Yeah, you touched on so you touched on your business model there a little bit about like partners and how you run things. It's an interesting one. I remember you explaining it to me.
Yeah.
And it's something that, you know, we touch on a lot. Like on this podcast, we've spoken about it, and we can see even the model of barbershops changing as well.
Yeah.
Because nowadays you got everyone wanting to kind of be their own boss, or going out working on their own, or working from home. But you've introduced a very interesting model, right?
Well, I think what happened there, Leigh, you've come from the UK. You've seen big salon groups. We probably the biggest salon group in the most long-standing, one of the most long-standing salon groups in Europe. It comes out of Ireland, actually. It's Peter Mark,
It's my mom started.
Mom
Really?
A lot started there. I used to sort of look at that brand when I was, started hairdressing, and it's still very strong today. But I just knew that if I was running high-end luxury salons at a high-end level, I couldn't be everywhere. And managers, if you didn't have skin in the game, if you didn't own, if you didn't walk in and feel it was yours, when things got tough, i.e. someone resigned, or someone's sick, or two people sick on a one day, or someone was sick on the day and someone resigned on the same day, and someone broke their arm on the same week. If you're a manager, it's like, fuck, I'm getting an extra $100.
Yeah.
An extra $200. Even if they were getting another $200 a week, I go, they're not going to be able to. They're going to go, fuck this. Let him deal with it. And I just couldn't really deal with it.
Didn't want to deal with it.
So I just went, okay. But I also seen working for groups before that nobody gave me the opportunity to buy in or be part of something big. And I went, you know what, if I have great people, I can't, and if I really want to keep them, and I'm not going to just tickle their fucking tummies with, taking them to dinner, or fucking giving them a fucking David Jones voucher because it's their fucking birthday. We can all do this tummy tickle, but it's serial masturbation that has an expiry date, and there's no longevity in it because there's no real fucking purpose to it other than fucking licking ass and making somebody feel good for a moment. But guess what? They break up with a boyfriend the following day, or they have a bad day, or they go, oh, guess what? He's just upgraded his car. They're going, I'm fucking out of here. And so they should, because if they put years and years into working for you, dinner's not going to cut it. It's a token, it's great, but it's a tummy tickle to a point. I prefer to give them nothing, to be honest with you, because people have to want to work for you. That's number one. They got to follow a leader, and they've got to believe in you. But if people want to work for you and just want to do hair, and that's all they do, they wake up and all they want to do is do beautiful hair, that's great, and have the best work environment for them, and you will keep them, and if you are a good boss, you will keep them, and they will stay with you as long as you're not fucking completely bipolar, or just on the piss or on the sniff or whatever every day. They're gonna follow you, and our industry is full of that chaos, but if they have dreams of doing something but don't want to go down that scary path by themselves, and want to go on that journey with somebody, then the partnership program is the best, because a lot of it's taken out. You don't have to worry about the bloody L'Oreal invoices or the Redken invoices or the Dyson invoices. Someone's taking care of that. You don't have to worry about the payroll, someone's taking care of that. You don't have to worry. Instagram is normally side by side. Everybody's got to be involved in Instagram if they want to drive their business. These days in social media at some level. Yeah. But we have marketing people, so there's a lot of support there, because running salons now is not like what it used to be back in the day. It's you're a counselor, you're a therapist, you're a trainer, you're an accountant, you're a retailer, you're a merchandiser, you're a hairstylist, you're a father, a mother, a foster parent, a guide doctor for their dog that's broken its leg or had spinal issues because you bought a Frenchie. You know, there is so much to running a business now that it's a pressure cooker of madness, you know. And that's why the partner program probably works for us, because a lot of people go, this is an easier option and it's a better option. We've got partners that you know, they work 35 hours, probably work 20 hours a week, and they're on $300,000, you know. You know, they're taking it in their mid-20s.
Yeah. And you know what you've done there is quite you know, like you said, you looked at the Peter Marks, but when I think about the industry as I know it right now, when I think about the barbering side of the industry, that's it's revolutionary. Yeah. If somebody was to introduce a partnership program like that in barbering, it would change the entire game.
There is one that I've seen, and it's making a little bit of it's sort of like it's a groovy Just Cuts. I guess Just Cuts tried to do that in the 80s or whatever, and but there's a group called Man Cave now that you're familiar with those. I think they were sort of birthed out of Bondi in Sydney, was it? Yeah. And they're opening quite a few around. And I stood outside them. I was actually quite close to my. I was passing through Tweed on my way to my farm, and I needed to pop in to get some stuff, and I had my daughter with me, and I stood outside. There was this massive queue on a Sunday morning with 8 barbers, and they're all these barbers were 18 to 21, smashing out cool cuts, men's barber stuff for like $40-$50 a pop. I don't know what they want, and they were just smashing them up, and there was a queue of 15-20 people standing outside the salon, and it's cool. It's got a bit of a cool, so there are, I mean, America's got a lot of big barber chains, you know. Yeah, but most chains are smaller, 2 or 3, 4 people. You know, to scale something is hard because it's, you know, it comes with growing problems.
Yeah, and I think, you know, what you've done there as well is it takes a lot of like taking the greed out of it as well.
Yeah,
and in order to scale, you have to take greed away.
Yeah,
like you can't scale with greed in it, because then you just be like, oh well, I want to take.
Well, you're going to be very fucking lonely if you do, or you're going to be a real asshole in our business anyway. And in our business, nobody likes assholes, so you've got to be at least kind. You can be an asshole and be kind, and as long as the, you know, as everybody's doing okay, that's okay. But I mean, it's you've got to have a little bit of, when you're in business and you're in there and you're fighting the good fight against shopping centres, Westfields, you're paying $300K plus rent a year. You need a business to perform, and you need to be able to go to war with these shopping centres sometimes. And we've been, you know, our fucking body is scarred with war scars from dealing with shopping centres for years, you know. So and that's part of the reason that, you know, I guess people put it in our partner thing as well, because we sort of look after that.
Well, you've done all the hard yards yourself, right? Like they're learning from, they don't have to pay the dumb tax. Ever hear that statement about dumb tax? So it's like the tax that people pay on, what's the best way to put this? It's kind of like the best, or the tax that people pay, so the extra money they pay just fucking shit up, like for so long, when they could have just went to a mentor, or they could have just went to
yes,
and I had learned all the mistakes are just wiped from the table.
You know? Well, a lot of them are, and the majority of them are, you know. And the great thing about it is, when you've got that size, even if you do make a mistake, we take it on the chin anyway, you know. Like you know, for instance, my salon, beautiful salon in Camberwell. It was designed off obviously through the back end of COVID. Wasn't able to do as many site visits. I put a high bar area, and then I walked in there 8 weeks ago, and I said, oh, gee, you know what? We could have put stations there, but I thought it was going to be too narrow. So popping in 2 stations is going to cost me an extra 10 or 20,000. I'm going to pay that because I was in charge of the design. So the salon's not going to pay it. I'm going to pay it out of my own money. So we you have to be. I think at the end of the day, you just got to be fucking noble, and you've got to be with people. People aren't. Who wants a stupid ass working for you? Mm-hmm. Who wants stupid people working for you? You want smart people work for you. We create people, good people. We create. I build them tough.
It's a leadership thing, right?
Yeah, and
great
so,
leaders make other leaders.
So that's right. If you build them to be smart, and you build them. Well, you've got to treat them accordingly. That's it. Everybody wants to be treated well and to be respected, and that's the most important, probably for the majority of people that work for you or work on your team. And it is, I said it the other day. Salons don't make fucking targets. Salons don't become successful. A bunch of people that work as a team, as a united team, is what makes salons successful. It's what makes Circles in Western Australia. Circles doesn't make Circles successful. It's a team that Charlene puts together that makes that successful, that work in unison together, like an orchestra. The same way with a Joey, the same way with an Oscar, the same way with any salon that becomes successful. It's a team of individuals that work with a common goal. Soccer teams, World Cup soccer teams are not built on the brand name. They're built on the brand name that where individuals work in sync together. Even
individual sports in the UFC, they all train as part of teams.
That's a camp. It's a camp.
Yep.
That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because I think individualism is being pushed as well these days.
When you're in a cage, and I follow martial arts. I actually have a boxing gym. I don't know if you knew that.
Sure.
Yeah. But I fought because Daddy's. You are alone when the door is closed there and cage door is closed, but it's the team that gets you there, and it's the team that builds you to that, and it's the team, and then you are unleashed to do your thing. But even at a salon level, we teach people to be part of a team, but when they go on the salon floor on a Saturday morning, they're by themselves.
The cage door closes.
Yeah, they're in their own cage.
I love that analogy. Yeah. So good.
It's
so true.
Yeah, but what if there's no camp? What if there's no training?
That's
in most salons and most barbershops, there is no camp.
So they can either do shit hair, do shit dollar averages, not return a client and lose, or they can go in there and fucking win. And we build people to win.
Brilliant.
And that is probably the layman's analogy. I think guys that enjoy UFC probably will be drawn to that more than some people will think we're fucking crazy. But it is.
We love analogies.
We are.
As you know.
We love a great analogy. Yeah.
It's a sign of a genius, apparently, if you can come up with a good analogy.
Yeah. Well, I throw analogies all the time, mainly because people don't understand where I'm coming from half the time. So I try to break it down, but I confuse them even more, Yeah.
Brilliant. Was powerful.
I just want to touch on a few steps back there when you were talking about kind of the buy-in in a partnership.
Yeah.
So somebody wants to become a partner with you, is there a buy-in from them, like skin in the game, did you say?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that changes everything, doesn't it? Because I don't know if you follow any of...
Listen, I have to be... I make money out of salons being successful because I get part of the pie. It's simple. I get part of each cake. I'll take a lot of the risk. We've got a highly established brand that's 30 plus years. And we got systems and processes better than we could run a group of 70 salons. But do I really want to deal with that amount of stuff? No, probably now. Probably not. And I like keeping it elitist as well. But we do, and I don't really like the franchise model. If I wanted to really whore out my business, I would do. I could now, as it's been established for so long, I could whore it out and roll it up as 50 salons and collect 300,000-400,000 from every franchise and just ride away into the sunset and fucking hang out and hang out with fucking Conor McGregor and fucking wherever, you know, at the Black Forge Inn, and just get jacked up, you know.
That'd be kind of fun too, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, just fucking get full of steroids and have a bit of fun with that. But I think that ship sailed for me. but you know, it's important for if you give somebody something for nothing, the likelihood of them making it work is low. But there are salons, there are unique salon situations where a salon might have been very poorly managed, or it might have been trading at a loss, or it might have been history where the entry figure has been very, very low, or minimal. But most of them, there is a license fee, and that's normally dependent on the market. COVID changed things a little bit as well. And then when a salon, it's different as well, you know, multipliers of what the salons, you know, what they make profit, etc., etc. So it's all different. But we make money out of, you know, we make money out of this salon's success, and it's not just about the money. It's never actually been about the money to me. Money is something. It's like a petrol gauge on your car. You know whether you've got enough in the tank to keep going, or you know that can keep you on that journey for a while, and that's a momentous part of what money does. But I have always been driven by challenges and doing things differently, you know.
Yeah, overcoming obstacles and challenges.
Not
like
just
that's a good analogy, actually.
You know?
There's no point in having a car sitting there full of petrol and not driving it, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, we're Irish. We're fucking, you know, we're born into fucking challenges, you know, by just being Irish, and you're English,
Yes,
I mean. But you know, we even coming from where we came from, and you know, the adversity, you know, we come here into Australia, and it's like, fucking hell, people can I get what 12 sick days or 8 sick days a year, and then they get this, and then they get that, and we go, fucking hell.
Yeah, this is like paradise.
Oh my God.
See, we've already passed step one of the commitment piece, like as Leigh was touching on there. We've passed part one of the commitment test by even coming to Australia.
Yeah.
And then it's the buy-in thing. Even when we charge for education, it's like the reason we price ourselves the way we price it is because we feel like it's undervaluing the product or the knowledge and experience we're delivering to the client of the education if we don't charge them for it. Because when something's free, they don't give a fuck.
Right, that's right. And you know, and it's forgotten, and it's not regarded and referenced in most cases. Now you will get somebody that will. Having said that, and this is very, very important, I would prefer to. The most important thing for me is the individual that's going to lead it, because I have had a few situations in my time where people, feed you the bullshit, blah blah. I'm going to do this, and they're just pulling your chain, man, and they're pulling their own chain, which is even worse, you know, because they think it's like a turnkey McDonald's. Do you know when even a McDonald's, the most heavily processed, systemized company in the world, and the owner of McDonald's goes through the biggest screening. They have the biggest screening process. The owners need to be present in the business. They need to be working at 30, 40 hours a week. You know, McDonald's, we think that system runs on a systems and processes. That runs on owners leading the fucking charge and being across every part of the business. And this is the most. So to think that you can just open a salon and turn the key and people just rock in, and they will rock in, but will you make profit? Will you last? Will you keep teams? Will you? You know, I've created a lot of great hairdressers, probably in the thousands now, probably into the thousands, and trained a lot of great ones, you know, and some have, a lot of them have done incredibly well. Some of them have become very successful in salons. Some of them have become, you know, traveled across the world and became session stylists and gone into film and all sorts of different stuff. But it's not an easy game, you know, and it's not an easy game to be successful in long term. Anybody can have a run in the sun, you know.
Well, that's the difference, right? Like, is it the short term gratification piece? Like, a lot of people in our industry are working for this week and next week, but what about after that? It's the long term.
Well, sooner or later you're gonna you know, the bank's gonna want you to buy a house. You know, banks. We don't own houses. Banks own houses. Banks were created for houses were created for bankers, not for us. You know, and the world is set up that way, and but we all get on that wheel, you know, and as we develop and mature, and I hope to think I'll mature one day, but as we get older, we probably do. There's certain elements of traditional, I suppose, safeties and being secure financially, or freedom. You know, we spoke about freedom earlier, and being able to come and go. And I'm probably the most relaxed here now. You got me in a good day. But you know, we all sort of, we're it's just part of the journey.
What's interesting about the freedom piece as well, like, you know, we speak about that a lot on the podcast, and we make it sound like really sexy when we speak about it. Yeah. But it's not. It's more autonomy than freedom, because I still feel trapped within myself until I reach a certain point or a certain goal, or until I get somewhere. Like, I thought about this thing. We always ask, are we happy in the podcast, you know, to the guest that's here, like, and then I thought about it the other day, and it's like, sometimes I've answered that saying yes, sometimes I've answered it saying no, but I've really very rarely said no. And of course I'm not fucking happy. I'm not where I want to be yet, like, so how could I be happy?
Well, that's part of
even though there's some freedom.
That's the journey. The journey is, you know, we I mean, as I can only speak for you know, myself, as, you know, we are humans by nature, move forward, you know. They always, in many cases, you know, choose the paths of least resistance, and that's why as we get older we get chubbier, and we don't work as hard maybe, and or we'll take a shortcut walking through the park, or whatever. We'll sometimes drive when we should really be walking. We'll take the elevator when we should really be taking the stairs. But we always want to move to a better place, or at least our perception of the better place. And, you know, let me tell you, I've come from pretty much nowhere, and I've reached that better place. I've sat pretty much high on that fucking hill. And now I'm really enjoying going back to my farm, and probably, you know, because money doesn't make me happy. Challenges make me happy, but also, you know, we have to seek out what really is important, and health is important. Your health is your wealth, you know, and we sort of, we all think we're Peter Pan, and now, you know, as you work through the journey of life, you realize that, you know, life is, you know, it's very precious, you know. You know, I see my daughter, she's 9 now, she's, you know, and only a little while ago she was 2, you know, and there's a big difference between a 2-year-old and a 9-year-old when they're, you know, walking around with, looking at themselves in the mirror with little midriff tops, and dancing, doing their little fun dancing moves, you know, and I'm trying to keep her away from TikTok and all that sort of stuff, but you know, there's only so much you can do, you know, but you know, time flies.
Yeah. It fucking does.
Right. Touching on that longevity piece, that there's an interesting thing happening in our industry right now. Certain people are touting this idea of like using the barbering industry as just a stepping stone in your life, which kind of devalues the industry a little bit. And it's a bit of like, I'm not sure if I really agree with the advice, because there's guys out there saying don't be a barber for more than 5 years. They were like, don't plan to be in this industry for more than 5 years. Use it as a stepping stone, make loads of cash, and then do something different. That's like advice people are giving.
But I mean, if you look at the barbering craft as it overall, and I refer to the beautiful Italian barbers, and that started barbering it when they were 12, and you know, mopping the floor, brushing the floor in the what you call it. It's such an elitist craft, as well as I think that people that's very much a very money grab mentality, really, you know, that pretty much pisses on the birthstone of that of barbering, really, because let me tell you, if you want to make money really fast, probably barbering is not really going to be it. I can tell a lot more ways. Probably maybe not exactly legal, but
I can think of better ways.
Yeah,
I can literally think of better ways. But plus 5 years, right? That particular advice, like 5 years is only when the good shit actually starts to happen.
Yeah.
And then everything is compound interest.
Yeah.
You know, like you, how many years you're in the career now?
Yeah.
You're probably making the most money you've ever made today. Like.
Yeah.
Because it's compound interest.
It
just keeps compounding, and
then think about what happens along the way, like what that actually does to our industry and the people in it. It comes with a shitload of exploitation. Like to make that much money that fast, you got to exploit the shit out of everybody you come into contact with.
You know what? You got. There's no longevity in exploitation, really. You know, and nobody fucking likes it, really. And we live in a world now where you can see it. It can't be hidden. It can't be brushed under the carpet. Social media is the biggest exposer of the goods and the bads, but you know, Google reviews, you know, you're on a fucking you're open slander every day of the week, but you got to be passionate in whatever you do. You've got to fucking stay true to your passion, and my passion was in building businesses and building people and building salons that look magnificent and better than anybody else, and that's what's driven me, you know. But the barbering, whatever your passion is, which way you want to go with that, if you're doing it purely for as a money grab, as I say, there's so many other things to do.
It's a bit of a bottomless purpose, isn't
maybe
it?
Patch up,
especially in this.
Patch up.
Yeah. It's a bit of a bottomless purpose, though, just chasing the money.
Yeah.
You know, it's like once you get it, what then? You know,
there's a little bit of whore in all of us, but I mean, that's just complete outright, you know, swinging off a pole stuff. I mean, there's no, you've got to, you know. I love this industry because it's been incredibly good for me, but because I think there's so many amazing people that are so emotionally super intelligent, you know, and hairdressers and our creatives they're a special breed, and people that work with use their eye and their hands as a tool to transform people, be it male, female, whatever, whoever, all inclusions, everything. I am all for it. You know, the universal journey of humankind, you know, but there has to be, when passion is lost, so is the quest.
It's interesting, isn't it, that we listened to a podcast lately with Gianni Scumacci in it. You know Gianni Scumacci, and he was talking about the hidden intelligence of a hairdresser.
Unbelievable.
And, you know, when we're growing up in such systems like the school system, emotional intelligence isn't rewarded. Academic intelligence is. But like emotional intelligence in the world is more important. Like you said, you spent how many years of your life in the hallways of schools. I was the same. It's not like I'm anywhere near where I want to be.
I certainly knew how fire extinguishers worked anyway.
Yeah.
Fire alarms.
potentially more important to know than a lot of shit you learn in the class. Yeah. So if there's a fire.
Yeah, that's right.
Like there's that hidden intelligence, the emotional intelligence.
Well, schools now, they got to change because I mean,
100%.
my own daughter is an example. I see her so much in me, and her attitude as well, perhaps. But you know, we cannot be lambs to the slaughter in this world, and you know, there are how many accountants, how many lawyers, how many academics, you know, psychologists, what you call it, do you need out there? You know, you know, it's just a feedlot for academics the way schooling's set up now. You know, and you know, I've actually even said to my daughter, I've wanted to see if we could get my daughter. I'm telling her that she's going to have to earn her pocket money when she gets to 10. She's 9.5 now, so I'm going to have to put on the hard word on her. But,
it's coming.
But you know, I think work's good for everybody. You know, work's good. You know, it's therapeutic. People, you know, and yeah, she says that she doesn't want to be a hairdresser, but I don't know.
You never know. You never know.
I don't know. If her attention span is a little bit like mine. It's a little bit goldfish-like, but she has got a very good eye for design as well. Maybe she's just obsessive-compulsive like me.
We were having this chat on the way in, and you know, I started hair when I was 15, so I was pretty young. 32 now. Been doing it a little bit of time, and you know, even that short, kind of long or short compared to some people, but that perspective over my career, I've got a lot to thank to the hair industry for. That is so much to discover about yourself in that time as well. There's something you can build with your hands. Again, like we were talking earlier, you can go off in your own little thought dreamland. You know, you got that to deal with, but you've also got the opinions and the energies and the personalities of, you know, for us, 10, 12, 15 different people a day. You compound that over
plus
10,
15, plus the people you work with,
and the people you work with, and the people you work for,
clients.
and their clients. And then you compound that 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It's like, wow, if you're open to, if you're aware, fuck, you can accelerate your learning so fast. You can become very aware of the whole world quickly. And that's, I believe, what one of the biggest gifts from the hair industry I've done is just to discover me and my own shit.
Yeah, of course.
And it's been unbelievable. And I think because that saturated dose of people.
Well, life's a big jigsaw puzzle, really, and you know, whether all the people around us make that jigsaw puzzle easier or more challenging, I don't know. Sometimes I do remember when we were talking about salon life, when I decided I need to stop maybe working in salons, and this is only 10, 15 years ago. I used to go up to the wrong clients all the time. I'd start cutting their hair, I go, fuck no, my lady's right there. It's the wrong lady. I fucking taken one section and cut it already. Did she have a bob? No. She wanted to keep her hair long. So yeah, there's a magic. There's a magic in the spaces and the environments and the banter, and there's some things that have changed a lot in our industry. But hand on my heart, I still see the same. Okay, yes, we walk out the back room and everybody was on the fucking Instagram, you know. Whereas before they were reading the magazines, you know. But there's a magic in salon spaces that is, and barbering shops too. That you know, the barbering shops are still. You know, I often go to barbers. I don't even go into my salons because they take too long. So I go to barbers. So I'm the biggest. You know, I gotta say that, and does that hasn't changed? Okay, it's become prettier. It's become more scientific. It's all that, but it's really still people on people. Yeah.
It's the biggest skill of them all.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How fortunate are we?
I know, it's crazy. So what's next for Oscar then? I know you got a few things in the works. You're working on some big projects.
Yeah. My listen, you know, I tried to retire about 5 years ago. I could have retired, what you call it, and then I fell off I fell off a machine on my farm. Then 6 months later, I was rearing in a car crash. I broke my back. I fractured ribs. I had a couple of little medical issues after that were sort of related to that, because it just throws the body into a complete spin, and I just went, okay, I'm not retiring, I'm going back to work, it's unsafe.
The world's unsafe for me.
I'm better when I'm busy. So I've always wanted to get into cosmetics, hair cosmetics, and that's my journey now. I have got a product called Wild by Oscar, and it's the Wild brand is it's a luxury hairdressing brand. It's something that is my everything now. I mean, it's my baby now. It's sort of my second wife, I guess. Yeah. I've had the first wife for the last 35 years, and 3 years, and the first wife is still in the house. But Wild is the next thing for me, and I do it. I've put a lot of money into it so far, and I've done a lot of research in it. We've got a lot of. It's a hybrid product. It's nature plus nurture. It's scientific and also it's very natural as well. So it's got both sides. It's a Tesla, really. I looked at doing completely natural, but then there was the performance issues and so forth with especially when you do big hair, sexy hair, glamorous hair. You can't do that so much just using completely natural, so you've got to push a bit of science in there. But we've created a Tesla sort of a hair care product, which is a nature plus nurture, and that's it. So I'm jumping on that horse now and just gonna keep riding that horse for the next right away into the sunset, and that's it. That's the beginning, She's saddled her up recently, it's just been saddled up, and now she's ready to ride, man. So wild is it, and but it's I've compared it with my new wife, my second wife. It's deep in a threesome with the Oscar brand, because of course it's connected with my Oscar brand when it's sold through my salons initially, but we're going to take the brand global. That's the plan, and we're going to do special big things with it, But again, I just want to create the best product first, that's it. So got some good stuff going.
It's exciting.
Yeah, amazing.
It's exciting. Well, I guess thanks for sharing your story. There's lots of golden nuggets in there.
So much gold in there.
Jesus.
We'll definitely have to do another one, won't we?
I forget what I've said now. God, it's a little bit like when I hold a party and I forget the whole party. I go, oh Jesus. So I get just carried away, and I hope I didn't speak too much, Leigh. And
Brilliant.
Leave you guys. You've been.
It's all about you.
Calming. Flanked here by the sexy Irish and Englishman, Leigh. So we got Leo. Leo.
That's a good one. We haven't thought of that one before, have we?
Call the podcast Leo. This is the episode.
Yeah. So. I've watched your podcast before, or listened to your podcast before, and I just thought it was very wholesome and very raw, and I don't like scripted stuff,
Yeah. Well, we spoke yesterday, didn't we? And you're like, so what's the goal with the podcast tomorrow? Are we just gonna run with the wind? I think that's what you said.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's how we roll. We just run with the wind.
Exactly it. Run with the wind.
Yeah, that's it. Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate your time. And we're excited to follow the journey of where it's all going to go next time. Like you said, you extended the invite to your house in the Gold Coast.
Yeah, okay. Well,
we'll be there for the next podcast.
Next year, let's make it Wild, and let's see where Wild is next year. How's that?
Yeah, let's do that. Amazing. Let's do it.
Okay.
Sweet.
All right.
Ciao.